Voiceover is everywhere, and you hear it every day. From radio.
Number one for New Country 96.3 Hawkeye in the morning.
To TV.
Alpha, Readers Escape. Recruit a team of teenagers with attitudes.
To movies.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete.
To animation.
Endgame, Spider-Man!
And so much more.
I don't want to grow up, 'cause baby, if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid.
Welcome to episode 16.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at the world of voiceover, including movies, TV, animation, and more. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is the voice of Lord Zedd and Finster from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Here's a clip of both Lord Zedd and Finster. I hope you guys enjoy.
I am Lord Zedd, Emperor of all I see. You have failed to complete the mission assigned to you. I will now resume command. Prepare the planets for my return.
Oh, for the good old days. I used to be somebody around here. Monster Maker extraordinaire. Now I'm just old and in the way. Rita and I were quite a team. I almost missed her cranky little face. Oh, I wish she were here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show, I am so excited to be bringing you an interview with Robert Axelrod. Robert, thank you so very much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Well, Robert, we are going to talk about some pretty amazing things, but the very first thing that I always like to do when I have a guest on the show is get to know them a little bit. So please tell me about Robert, the young boy that grew into the man he became, and how did you get into acting, and more specifically, voice acting, Robert?
Well, I got into acting when I was 5 in kindergarten.
Goodness.
The teacher, I've told the story a million times. The teacher one day brought in a hollowed out TV set, you know, with all the guts taken out, just the screen. And one by one, she said, "All right, everybody, one by one, get in and entertain the rest of the class." So I crawled in there and I did a little puppet show with my hands that I got from watching the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, wow.
There was a comedian that Ed Sullivan would have on fairly often called Senor Wences. He was from Spain. And he'd create little puppets with his hands. So I did that, and I cracked the kids up. The kids loved it.
That's awesome.
And I did the voices of the two hand puppets myself, and we had a good time. I made a little story, and blah blah blah. There it goes, and I got hooked
That's
right
awesome.
then and there into performing. And the teacher, I guess, recognized it, so she created some things for us to do, some dramatizations of discovering America and Columbus discovering America and this and that, and
Yeah.
I played Columbus and something like that. And we would
Nice.
dramatize them in front of the class and whoever wanted to participate. So I was pretty active in that. That's how I got my taste of it, and I really liked it.
Wow. So 5 years old.
Yeah.
Dang. So
And I did a couple of commercials when I was a kid.
Okay.
A couple of lower budget commercials that my parents got me into, and but I was an athlete, so I didn't stick with it that much. We didn't get fanatic about it,
Yeah.
but I was pretty much hooked into it through my early years, and my parents weren't real supportive. They said, "There's no future in this," but let them have fun. They wanted me to go into a field that was like teaching and something like that.
Something more
was
sturdy.
solid and had security.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were security seekers, my parents, and I was a risk taker. So, so I had to overcome that insecurity. That I don't want to call it negative input, but it certainly wasn't positive input.
Yeah.
I had to overcome that negative input my whole career until I started making money.
Yeah.
And my mother said, "Oh, you're doing great. Keep going. Keep at it."
Yeah.
I always knew you'd make it. Yeah,
You're like, yeah, sure, Mom.
Yeah, right.
That's funny,
But
Robert.
God bless her. She was very supportive once I started showing her that I could do the gig.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I got into it. Voice acting, yeah. It was in L.A. in 1980. I was doing an on-camera show, and we were in rehearsal. It was an on-camera sort of variety show. It was called Rumpel's Last Stand. It was for kids.
Yeah.
And we were rehearsing at this independent studio that had a rehearsal space and sound studios. And in the next studio was a sound studio, and they were doing a cartoon called Banner the Squirrel. So I asked the director, I ran into the director. I made myself run into the director, I should say. And and say, and I was coming from a position of sort of power because I was working.
Yeah.
I said, I'm working next door here on the show next door. Oh, yeah. And I'd love to audition for your cartoon. She said, have you ever done any cartoon voices? I said, oh, yeah, sure, in New York. I lied. But I knew I could do it.
Yeah.
So I went and auditioned. I got the lead role of the squirrel, the Banner of the Squirrel. It was about for very young kids. It turned out to be anime.
Oh, wow.
So I got the part of Banner the Squirrel, and she hired 4 of us to divvy up all the voices in the show.
Wow.
So that's how I learned how to do ADR, automated dialogue replacement. That's a fancy term for dubbing. And that was my first entree into the dubbing field.
Wow.
So I cut my teeth while I was making money.
That's awesome.
It wasn't big money. It was $100 an episode, and we did 10 episodes over about a 2-week period of time, 3-week period of time. But it was my first gig, so it was good. And that was my first voiceover job. And about a week later, after I finished that, I was looking around in the trade papers, and they were looking for people to do to dub. What was it? Yeah, it was a movie called The Boat Is Full. Which turned out to be a real good Swiss film. I think Swiss. So that was my second job, and then the field started snowballing at this one studio called Intersound Studios, where eventually they got in some cartoons, and the first big cartoon series they got in was Robotech.
Oh, wow, yeah, Robotech. And was Intersound Studios where you eventually did Lord Zedd and Finster?
No, that was Saban Entertainment. I was at Intersound for a while, and I was always looking for more studios to work at. And, we were always looking, and we heard about Saban Entertainment, and they didn't know about us. We were a group of about 40 guys and gals who worked regularly in the field at Intersound, and there were a couple of other independent studios, Magnum and Carl Masek.
Yeah,
was doing a lot of stuff before he brought in Robotech, and I heard about Saban Entertainment, so I called them up and I said, "Yeah, I heard you doing ADR work," and they said, "Yeah." I said, "I've been working at Intersound Studios for the last, I guess it was 3-4 years." And, "Oh yeah, come on over and put some things on tape for us." So I went over and did a sort of an informal audition.
Yeah.
And they hired me.
That's awesome.
And eventually I worked very regularly both at Intersound and Saban Entertainment.
Wow. And so when it comes to playing Finster and Lord Zedd, Finster, of course, was a character that you played from the very beginning. And
so I've been working with Saban for like 9 years before the Power Rangers came up.
Okay.
We had Wowzer was just finishing up. Wowzer was a show for kids. We were just finishing up Wowzer and Hello Spencer, which was another show. Wowzer ended up on the Family Channel for a couple of years. So we were just finishing up those 2 shows when Power Rangers came down.
Yeah.
And I was given the role of Finster. And we all thought it was just another show that would last 52 episodes.
Yeah.
We had no idea it was run as long as it has. You certainly had no idea it was going to blast out into this amazing phenomenon.
And a phenomenon is exactly what Power Rangers has become.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just thought it was another show, and So we started doing it, and about 20 episodes in, as far as 20 episodes at airing, not done, but airing, we realized we had a major hit on our hands.
That's awesome.
So we rushed out more episodes. So each episode would be new. There'd be no reruns for a year at least.
Yeah.
The rest, as they say, is history.
Absolutely. Well, Robert, I know one of the things
that's the long-winded version of how Power Rangers came about.
Absolutely. Well, Robert, I can tell you with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original series, I absolutely loved the original series with a passion. It's it's still my absolute favorite to this day. But I loved how we really got to know all the characters, whether it be the villains or the heroes or the Zords, because they spent so much time. I mean, we had I think it was 70 or it was 68, 72 episodes for the first season alone. And we really got to know them. Whereas some of the newer Power Rangers today only get 18 to 22 episodes. And before you can even really get to know the Rangers, there's a whole new set, so. But with
it's very impersonal.
I do feel that way. It doesn't have the connectivity that the original Rangers had, when certain Rangers would leave, but new ones would come on, but there'd still be mainstay Rangers we already knew and loved, building our relationships with the new Rangers that had come on. And it kept this family oriented thing with the Power Rangers being a legacy instead of just, well, where did these Rangers come from? There's no explanation. They just appear out of blue air. And we're just well, where did these guys come from? There's no tie into the previous seasons or, I don't know. But as far as your character's Finster was amazing. I loved him being, the guy that made the putties all the time and all the creatures. He was just a character I gravitated towards, and I had no clue that you were both Finster and Lord Zedd, among other characters, of course. But those were just two super iconic characters I grew up absolutely loving. And so what was it like getting to play Finster for such a long time, all the way from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers into Zeo?
Yeah, well, Finster had a few lines every episode. There's a couple of episodes that he was actually featured and had a lot of lines.
Yeah.
And it was a comfortable voice for me to do, and it was just nice. He's a nice character. He wasn't really a bad guy. He was a scientist. There it is. I'd come in, do my thing, and then go off and play racquetball for the day.
That's awesome. Well, and as far as Lord Zedd comes along, when he came into the series in Mighty Morphin, he went from Mighty Morphin to Zeo to In Space, and then, of course, was even in the feature film in the movie. You got to do quite a lot more with Zedd than you did with Finster. But I kind of wish Finster had carried over into the movie because, he was one of those iconic characters. For me, it was you had to have Finster, you had to have Goldar, you had to have Babu, you had to have these characters because they were just the iconic mainstays. You can't not have them. It's like not having one of the Power Rangers. You don't do that. You have to have all of the Rangers. But I just loved Finster.
They created this pig character.
Yeah, he was weird.
In a movie that covered Finster, Babu, and Squat.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Yeah, they wanted to save money. What did they save? A couple of grand? $5,000?
Yeah, but in the long run, how much would they have made if they had brought all the characters we already loved to?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They, sometimes I don't think the process is thought through of how much are we saving during the filming, but how much are we not saving by the profits we lose based on the characters we don't have in the show, So.
Oh, they wanted to replace us for the film.
Oh, wow.
Get new, because we asked for too much money.
Oh, wow.
And Chaim Saban came down and said no. He saved our asses. He said, no, we're not doing the movie unless you hire the regular guys who do Rita and the Lord Zedd.
Oh, wow.
And Goldar.
Well, I'm glad they didn't boot y'all off the project. That would have definitely been very upsetting as a longtime fan.
I had friends of mine auditioning for my part.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy, Robert. I can't believe they actually did that. I mean, that'd be like having the whole new set of Rangers and just casting new people and saying, here you go, these are Tommy and Jason. And you're like, no, that's not,
Right,
you can't do that. But, it's crazy. It happens all the time. But anyway, it's great that you were able to play those characters. Another character you actually got to play was on one of my other absolute favorite Saban shows, Beetleborg's Metallics, where you got to play Piranha Khan. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
Well, it was a one-time thing, it was a one-off episode. But Beetleborgs Metallics to me was kind of like the kid version of Power Rangers. There was kind of more of a teenager slash early 20s feel to Rangers, the Power Rangers. And then we had Beetleborgs. It kind of felt like it was more of a preteen slash into the teen range. So it kind of gapped that difference that Power Rangers was kind of starting into, but it was a great role. I loved you in Beetleborgs, and I just thought I'd mention it because it's a show that we don't hear as much about compared to Mighty Morphin anymore. So
yeah.
But, along with those other projects you've worked on, Finster and Lord Zedd and Piranha, you also played in the Spider-Man the Animated Series back in '94 as Microchip, I can't talk, Frank Castle's partner and tech guy. And that I was like, oh, what? That's Robert. I was like, no way. That's so cool. That was like my absolute favorite Spider-Man series of all times. And that voice is really iconic.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell you a story about it. I did the audition and I thought, oh man, I didn't do anything with the voice. I just did me.
Yeah.
And they said, as soon as we heard your voice, we said, that's Microchip. They told me when they hired me.
That's awesome.
So, and it was the same thing for Armadilloman.
Really?
I auditioned for a whole bunch of characters. And Armadilloman was just one of the characters. I just kind of threw it away. I did a Texas accent.
Yeah.
Light Texas accent. And I said, that was perfect. And so I got the part. So you never know sometimes.
And Armadilloman was from Digimon, right?
Yeah, Digimon.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a great series too. And I mean, you've been on so many iconic projects that have withstood withstood time because they're just so iconic. I think I was looking for withstood the test of time. I couldn't think of what I was saying. But you've done so many iconic shows with so many iconic characters, Robert, that will definitely be remembered for all times. If there are people listening to the show today who are a fan of your works, or just Power Rangers in general, or Beetleborgs, or any of the other crazy cool projects you've worked on, like Spider-Man the Animated Series, what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring actor who wants to get into the industry professionally as an actor and as a voice actor, Robert?
Well, I would say study acting. Take acting classes and work as an actor, because voiceover is acting. It's just acting in a different space with different spatial requirements.
Yeah.
So take acting classes, and then eventually have to move to a place where there's work, either New York or Los Angeles or Texas, Dallas or Houston. Seattle has some work, San Francisco, but mainly it's New York, Dallas, Houston, and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That are the centers of where the work is. That's what I would say. Take those acting classes. That's it.
Absolutely. I think your advice is really solid, Robert, and I really appreciate it. I have just one final question for you today, and we will wrap this interview up. The question is, Robert, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, I'd like to leave behind a good body of work, and I haven't finished it yet, by no means. I'm right in the middle of my career. I expect to work until I drop dead, and I expect to live a long time.
Yeah.
It's in the family. My mom lived till 94.
Wow. Dang.
And she was pretty active.
Yeah.
Up until the last couple of years. The legacy, I'd like to leave behind a body of work that is believable and honest and makes some change in the world.
Absolutely. I think that's a really solid legacy.
That's what I could leave behind.
Absolutely. I love it, Robert.
I got a little niche with Lord Zedd. It's my little niche in show business. I'd like to get something that leaves me another niche, a series or a feature film, a couple of feature films.
Yeah. And
we'll see. It's I do pilots every once in a while, and you never know when one of them's going to hit and become a series.
You never do. You really don't.
I did one about 6 months ago that we still got our fingers crossed on, but
awesome.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet.
Well, you never know, man. Sometimes it takes a while before you hear something back.
Yeah, right.
But it's only a moment away. That's all it takes for somebody to be like, "This is a hit," and boom, you've sold it.
That's it. That's it.
But
keep doing that.
Absolutely. Well, Robert, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you do us the honor? You're very, very welcome, Robert. Would you do us the honor of closing out today as both Lord Zedd and Finster from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Oh, sure. Oh, my goodness. You've been listening to Who Did That Voice with Trenton Larkin as our host and me, Finster, from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, oh, my goodness. I want to thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn you over to Lord Zedd. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. I don't get a chance very often to do interviews because I'm too busy ruling the world, or trying to rule the world anyway. But I want to thank you for listening, and watch out. Look over your shoulder because I am coming to conquer the world. Lord Zedd signing off.
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Robert Axelrod, the voice of Lord Zedd and Finster from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And if you did, please find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. I would love to hear from you. Hey everyone, and thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Who Did That Voice. If you enjoyed today's episode, please check us out online on all social media platforms at Who Did That Voice and on YouTube at Who Did That Voice 24. Also, remember to check out our website, whodidthatvoice.org. Again, that's www.whodidthatvoice.org. Thank you to all my listeners out there. I just wanted to say, if you want to partner with Who Did That Voice, just telling your friends and family about us is the best way to share the show with others. And or leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast from. The third and final way is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Who Did That Voice.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.